The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, thanks for attending today's half-hour webinar on the ransomware virus and how you can secure yourself from it. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. Before I turn it over to Adam Novak from WatchGuard, who will be going through the security measures you can take against the virus, I would like to let everyone know the lines will be muted. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box or email myself, Matt Walter, mwalter@mantralogix.com, and we will send you an email response. We'll also be recording today's webinar and we'll send it to everyone afterwards, and my email will be there as well if you have any questions. So thank you all, and thanks Adam. I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We are, this is going to be a quick presentation on how, what ransomware is and how to defend your network against it. So just to go over a few slides, I'm not going to kill you with slides. So I'm just going to go over a few, then we'll go into some real world situations and how to configure your WatchGuard, and then some new features that we are now using as part of our portfolio to secure yourselves against ransomware. So just a quick overview: ransomware, computer malware that encrypts information on your computer and asks you for money back. If you haven't gotten it, consider yourself lucky, but it is out there and it is a major problem. Some unique elements: it has been commoditized. It's highly effective, and usually people are the link that allows it into your network. People, still to this day, people consider it not an issue for small to medium-sized businesses. That is changing. They're really going after anyone that is vulnerable. And again, the people factor of a company is the biggest vulnerability. So the ransomware is predictable, and those behaviors can be seen and therefore prevented and blocked. This is a quick stat of people who think that they're not going to be targeted. And some things in the news, we see about one a week. They're attacking hospitals, colleges, and a lot of people are paying up. So it's a really scary thing. These are just some more statistics on the average cost, percentage of small businesses attacked. So these, the background activity, these are what can be used to detect the threats. These are common traits that most ransomware malware have, and that you can use as part of your software that is on your network, hopefully a WatchGuard, that we are now using to find these threats. They compromise large amounts of files, and at the end, once everything is encrypted, a pop-up box comes up on your screen and it says, you are now infected. Please pay up with money or Bitcoins. If you haven't seen it, again, consider yourself lucky. It is out there. We go by the adage of a layered defense is the best defense. So they hide their command and control channels through encryption. They hide and they wait till the sandbox is no longer detecting, and then they attack. There's lots of different ways that they're dynamically trying to get around the security measures that are out these days. And now, how can WatchGuard help? So as in the top fundamental layer, you can see our subscription services that have kind of always been there from the beginning. And on the bottom are newer services that we now offer. The major one and the newest is the threat detection and response. And I'll get to a lot of that in a little bit. But all these services are offered to you as one bundle, is the total security bundle that we offer. So everything in here is included. So here's the 5 stages of a ransomware attack, and what WatchGuard uses to defend you against these. So the phishing attack, by sending out emails, by sending out things directly to the user to see if they'll click on it. and a lot of times they can spoof an email to make it look like a friend or a legitimate site. You click on it, all of a sudden you're now encrypted. So the spam blocker and the web blocker are two defenses right from the beginning that WatchGuard uses, from the endpoint and the network. The second ones are the gateway antivirus and the APT blocker. The APT blocker emulates your network in a sandbox environment, and it'll actually run the unknown executable there and then inform you immediately if it's a positive or a false positive. Either way, that is now kept in their database and it is no longer an unknown. So that is and then the gateway antivirus scans attachments, and looking for ransomware strains. The third way is through TDR. It analyzes behavior and heuristics. So it's looking at, you going to, a computer trying to beacon back home to try to do a command, off-site, like a botnet, and it looks for those behaviors of file changes and stuff like that. So the next one, the number 4, is the web blocker and reputation-enabled defense paired up with the threat detection and response. So here's the key exchange when it tries to send back to a command and control center to encrypt your information. These are our defenses: the web blocker, reputation-enabled defense, and TDR. And the last one, the encryption. TDR looks for file changes, and it will either kill the process or quarantine the file before it allows it to make any changes to the registry or to a file set. So you can see a WatchGuard approach, ransomware defense, correlates network and endpoint security. From the network, the firewall will talk to the endpoint, and those all get correlated into the cloud threat feed. So you can see if we prevent known threats, we correlate data to identify and respond to new threats, and then it's all updated into the threat feed database. So here's another, here's a link to a full kit that we offer through WatchGuard.com. I will post these links at the end of the webinar. Thank you. I think that was pretty painless. So I'm now going to get to the actual ways you can configure your firewall. So let's get to that. So straight from your firewall, we're just going to kind of go down the list of subscription services and how to best practice configure those that we've come up with to directly work on, and defend against ransomware. So this isn't across the board. It's just our best practice for ransomware. So along with a good backup, that used to be the case that if you had an offsite backup, an up-to-date backup, that was enough. But now they're actually looking for the quote-unquote honeypot, and they're actually going and spreading themselves to share folders, to everything, and they're actually finding backup files and corrupting backups. So that is not the end all anymore. It is definitely a continued, really good practice, but it is not the end all. So, and also to protect and segment your network from BYOD devices. Those are also very vulnerable to attacks and to allow things into your network that were not part of it. So if they're bringing in a home, tablet or something onto your network, make sure to segment those so they're not getting and they can't spread through your network. And of course, just a general antivirus, on the endpoints to find some of the stuff that that can be found easily and prevented from getting into your network. So I'm just going to go down the list of subscription services and kind of go over, what I think is best. And so the first one is Gateway Antivirus. Now, Gateway Antivirus, the first thing you want to do with any subscription service is make sure that they're updating. So you can see the first, subscription service you click on, Gateway Antivirus, just click Update Server. Make sure all these are checked. So then we are getting the updates from these services, the people, that we get these services from. It is their databases that are updating, and you can see they're updating by the hour. Also, another really important thing when you're configuring gateway antivirus, always click settings and enable decompression. So that's allowing you to scan, you know, for viruses and zip files and things like that. So always, you know, click enable decompression. So from here, if you just want to click on a proxy, you know, you can see they're set to block when a connection, you know, finds a source that a virus is detected. But go down to HTTP response. And these 4 kinds of files seem to be the most prevalent as far as sending out malware and malware coming into your network. So from content types, PDF, JavaScript, Shockwave, and XML, I would set to AV scan. By default, it's set to allow, but I would change that just to add another layer of protection. Under body content type, always either deny the user to run executables, or you can AV scan this as well. I would not set to just allow, because then they could run anything, you know, and then, you know, that can obviously cause issues. Not only a administrative rights issue, but, you know, running executables in your environment is just the beginning of bad things happening. So let me get over to the next one, is intrusion prevention. Now, there's a lot of services here, and please take the time to use these, because if you're not using them, you pretty much have a router. So please, you know, take the time to go through, you know, enable these subscriptions, read up on them, kind of do your due diligence, and make sure you're leveraging everything we give you the ability to use, so you have a very powerful, very secure network. Now, intrusion prevention gives you the ability to run a full scan or fast scan. If you're in a doctor, lawyer, any kind of municipality, that kind of thing, anything with very important information that is kind of roaming your network, I would always run full scan. That is scanning every bit of data coming through your network, you know, looking for intrusions. Fast scan is if you're just a regular business. It is going to scan the first 20 packets of any data set going through your network. And we've found, you know, that, you know, from past experience and through, you know, research, that most intrusions are found in the first 20 packets anyway. If it's anything past that, you know, it's going to find, you know, it's going to look in the first 20. So this really adds to the performance of the box. You're not really scanning everything. You're just kind of looking at the headers of the packets and then letting the information pass. As you can see, the critical level set to block. All these are set to drop, and then you can set the information set to allow. Again, this has, you know, it's part of the updates, so make sure that that's set. Now, intrusion prevention allows you to click on any policy as well. So I would set this on any outgoing policy and any important policy coming in. So the next one that we're going to go to is going to be application control. Oh, I'm sorry, web blocker. So web blocker, you really want to set this up as well. So you're looking at the categories of websites that you're allowing people to get to. Now, make sure if you've been a WatchGuard customer a long time, Surf Control used to be the only database we used. We now use web blockers, so you get much more categories. It's much more granular. So I would highly suggest using the WebSense category base. Now, once you click on that, this is kind of at your own discretion, but 2 categories we highly suggest would be extended protection. You can see extended protection right here. It's, you know, you're going to block elevated exposure, suspicious content, dying DNS, and newly registered websites. So you can block legitimate things, but let them contact you so you can whitelist, just so you're protecting yourself and protecting your end users. And also, you want to block the security list. So this is it's just malicious websites, spyware, and the rest of the categories. By default, if you check the overview box, it'll check everything in between. And I would leave the log the action and allow those if it's uncategorized. Reputation enabled defense. This is another one you can use just to block them from going to what we would consider a bad website. They're all ranked, 0 to 100, and by default we block 90 to 100. I would just immediately block anything with a 90 to 100 reputation, and bypass any configured with a good reputation. This again will help the performance of the box. So you're not scanning everything. You're kind of relying on the markers that the firewall knows. And down to application control. Botnet detection is on by default. That's a newer service. You can just leave that the way it is. It's looking for command and control. It's looking for things trying to point back to another location, but by default that's turned on, so you don't really have to mess with it. Geolocation blocking does not really factor into this. You can block as many countries as you want, but you can legitimately block a good website, and then you'll have issues and you'll have to go back and fix it. Now, application control is a very strong service that we offer, and in a few of them that we suggest right off the bat, we have a crypto application set there. So this is based on CryptoWall, CryptoLocker, Locky, some of the variants and some of the things and the characteristics that these applications used, we have combined into a crypto admin application. So this is just, like I said, I'll keep harping on it, another layer of defense. So if it does see something that it deems part of this crypto admin category, it will block it. All you do is you just click on any of these categories. So you can see any of these, like all you do is if you double click it, by default, it's set to drop. You click OK, and now the action is set to drop. But I'll allow that since I was just clicking. And then you can click Show Only Configured Applications. And now you can see, I would also highly suggest any sort of BitTorrent. So I have BitComment, BitLord, BitTorrent, all those set to drop. That is an easy way for someone who thinks they're getting, music and stuff. They can pick up an easy set of malware through those ways as well. So there's definitely some categories that we would suggest as far as blocking and stuff like that. So if you have any questions as far as that goes, just let us know. We can definitely give you that information on best practice, what we consider, just the most blatant one that you can see right off the bat. And so next is going to be APT blocker. Now APT blocker, this is advanced persistent threat blocker. So this is very important as far as, so it uses a cloud-based sandbox, and it's looking, like I said earlier, it's just looking for unknowns. So it runs on your HTTP, FTP, SMTP, and POP3 policies, only the proxy policies. So if you're running packet filters, you might want to think about changing. That's kind of the old school way of just scanning headers. So a proxy is much more granular. You can leverage all the subscription services against them, and it's a much kind of better way of doing things. So from here, you can see from the threat action, if it's anything deemed high, I will block it, medium drop, low drop, and then clean. Anything clean, it's just going to allow it. It's not going to scan it. It's just going to, so you can see here all the policies I have it set up with. And then if you want an on-site APT server, you can also do that as well. So another one, I'm sorry, I skipped it, is spam blocker. Spam blocker is a good one because you can kind of stop some stuff from, from a virus outbreak by email. So you can see confirm spam, set to deny. And the virus outbreak, it's going to block the connection and automatically send the source to your blocked sites list. You can go to the blocked sites list and change the default You can change them to infinite, you know, and however you want to change that application to. And then the last one that I was going to talk about is threat detection and response. If you have this on your feature key, you are going to check this box. You're going to go to WatchGuard.com. You're going to find your UUID, and you're just going to paste it in here, confirm, click OK, save this configuration, and then you're now allowed the ability to go to the cloud portal and start deploying threat detection and response. Now, from here, I would like to kind of change over to show the last bit of that I was wanting to show is our Dimension server. Now, Dimension also gives you a lot of ability to be alerted if there are malware or ransomware on your network. So it is a nice place to be able to be detected, be alerted by email or any other forms you have set up. So you can see from the executive dashboard, you know, Dimension is all Active Directory integratable. So you can see top domains, top clients. Hopefully a lot of people are using this. You know, it's pretty much a free service. You can run it on any VM backbone you have. So if you click on Security Dashboard, this is where you can automatically see top blocked advanced malware or APTs. And then you can see, you know, what it was considered, the threat ID, the threat name, top blocked botnet sites, and then the clients who are actually trying to get these, the blocked destinations. You know, you can see the block categories, the applications. Now, what's really interesting is down here, you can see top blocked malware. So if you actually click on this, Crypt5, and if you click on that and click on filter, it'll actually tell you what user got this virus. So if you're not using TDR and you need to quarantine or segment this, you're probably going to want to run and just pull the cable out of this computer, deal with it. Hopefully it hasn't done a lot of damage, but you can definitely, you know, narrow it down and find exactly where or who has this virus. So you can see the destinations and the top block protocols. And then also with the Dimension server, you can do reports, and then you can scroll down and see, you know, the advanced malware, and you can get a you know, scheduled report showing all these, you know, and then the ID. You can actually click on the ID, and it'll actually show you, you know, what it is, and then the details. It'll show you why it's considered malicious. So, you know, the network, and it's trying to search, trying to use evasion, it's trying to be stealth, and it's trying to disable volume shadow copies. So you cannot, you know, revert your desktop or any other, you know, device that you have connected. So that's Dimension. And I'm sorry to be going through this real fast, but I wanted to get to a little bit of TDR. Now, when you have TDR activated on your box, and then you put the UUID into the box, so now you go to WatchGuard.com and you go to My WatchGuard. Under My WatchGuard, when you have this on your account, you have it activated, you just click on My TDR. So from here, it's going to show you your TDR portal. So you just going to show, so here's your dashboard. It's just going to show the indicators that you have, the remediations made, and how many hosts that you have deployed. Now, it's really nice because the great thing about threat detection and response is with the remediations, you can see automated. Now, automated, you know, this is not just another dimension. It's just not going to tell you where, you know, or who has a virus. It's actually going to tell you where or who had a virus. So by creating policies, you can actually set up the automation. So if any advanced malware or ransomware is found on an endpoint, it will now be remediated automatically. So you don't have to physically go back there and deal with the virus on the computer. It will automatically kill the process, quarantine the file, or delete the registry entry from the policy that you created. If you don't create any policies, it'll just show up here and it'll say no policy created. You need to manually go remediate this issue, but it will still tell you, and it will still, if it is an advanced ransomware, it will automatically kill the process and quarantine the file. So, and in your threat sync, we'll just show you what incidents you have, and I'll just show anything from, just check all just to get. So you can see here, this is a host sensor. So this is the correlation I was talking about from the host sensor, which is the endpoint, and the firewall are coming back with information about this laptop. So I have 5 indicators from this laptop. So now if I click down, I have a host sensor. So this is my endpoint telling me what's going on. And then I have a network event. And then you can actually drill down further. And my network event is now being combined with the host sensor event. So if I click on additional information, it will now tell me why this is coming from the firewall. That is a site that is in the block sites and someone's still trying to get to it. So I will rectify that by either creating a policy on my firewall, or I will just continue to block and externally remediate this from the firewall, not from the TDR portal. Now you can see these, no policy, but if you click on additional information, it'll tell you why it deems this suspicious. And then you can click on details and it'll tell you that it's running from a temporary directory. So you can really drill down and find why it's deeming this stuff as bad. And it's all coming from that threat feed database that we have. Every WatchGuard firewall is all sending information into this, along with some third-party threat feeds that we have correlating, along with all the endpoints that TDR is installed on. So it's really combining all this information to really narrow down the unknowns. Now with this, you can also create and schedule reports. And this shows you the devices that it's installed on and the firewalls it's installed on in your network. Now with configuration, you can also install domains. You can create exclusions if you don't want TDR scanning, say, point of sale databases or anything that is internal and doesn't really need to be scanned. Any kind of SQL database, you might want to exclude. And here's where you can set up groups. So you can see here's just my lab with my boxes from my lab. Now you can create different locations if you have distributed enterprise, or if you want to create like an HR group, if you don't want to scan them as heavily as, say, general population, that's another way of doing it as well. Now here's where you can install either manually or you can send out the host sensor through Active Directory. So it definitely gives you that ability to not have to manually go to every computer in your environment and install. Now policy, this is where you actually create the policies to handle the automation. So you can see I have a demo policy, and you can definitely get more information on this. It's just the high overview. So I set my CyberCon level to 5. Usually you don't set them to 5. You want to set it to 4 or below. 5 is usually excluding everything. It's kind of just everyday regular work. But here I'm going to look for anything that's deemed a high from 7 to 10. And I want to scan this group, and I want to allow endpoints in this group the ability to automatically kill a process, quarantine a file, or delete a registry. Now, again, once you have a policy created, it is allowing for the automation. So you're not going to have to manually go back in there and do this. Now, under settings, you can see the host sensor, and you can see everything that the host sensor is scanning for. Now, one of the major ones, of course, is the host ransomware prevention. Now, by default, it's set to prevent. I would highly recommend leaving it that way. But you can click on the eyes for information, and it'll kind of show you what it's doing and what it's scanning for. But the host ransomware, it is looking for assisting in the detection, and it creates hidden folders and files on the endpoint to kind of sit and lay dormant until it finds something trying to affect those files on the endpoint. So as soon as something tries to get to those files and change them in any way, it automatically reacts and it'll shut down a ransomware that it deems anything. And a ransomware is generally a 9 or 10 from all the information, again, combined and collected in our threat feed database that we would deem, and it would automatically delete it from, the registry, delete it, quarantine file, excuse me, and kill the process, and then alert you in the dashboard. It'll say critical, it'll say ransomware, crypto, locky, anything like that. Now, that was a lot of information to go over in 30 minutes, and please feel free to send any questions you guys have. We can go over all this again a little bit more in depth if you'd like at a later date, but that is my presentation for how WatchGuard best practice can keep ransomware out of your network and protect you from it. So I hope you guys got something out of this today. I appreciate your time, and thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
All right, thanks, Adam. And again, thank you to everyone who attended our webinar today. As mentioned earlier, we will be sending the recording out to everyone. And if you have any further questions, as Adam said earlier, please send an email to myself, Matt Walter. I also chatted it to everyone as well. So mwalter@mantralogix.com. And we can help you out further. So thanks again. Thank you, Adam. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Thanks.